When I first started self-publishing novels back in 2017, I had to make the decision whether or not to write standalone novels or to write a series. I decided ultimately to write a series because there are many advantages to having a book series. First of all, if you have a series, you're building a world, you're building characters, you're building backstory. So when it comes to writing the next books in the series, you've already got the characters established, they're alive in the book. You know, you've got the characters set up, the readers know what the characters are like, they know their names, they know their personalities, they know if they like them or not. In my case, I invented a spy agency that they all work for. So you've got the spy agency as well. And that spy agency then obviously is able to generate lots and lots of different story ideas. Another advantage to building a brand is that you can encourage people to jump from one book to the next book to the next book to see what happens next. With a brand, you can put a cliffhanger at the end and then make people want to buy the next book to discover what happens in the next book. With a standalone novel, that's not possible. With a standalone novel, it's got to, as the name implies, stand alone. So you have to have a neat ending to it. You can't have a cliffhanger, where people don't know what's going to happen next, because if it's a standalone book, there won't be a next. And so people might read the book and say, yeah, well, that was okay, and then throw it away, and then they don't bother looking at your next book. So I wanted to be able to hook people into the series and get them addicted at a very early stage, hopefully, and have them jumping from book to book to book to book to see what happens next. And for me, that's been good because for money reasons, people have just been buying the whole series. And it cuts down on a lot of the work when you're starting a new book, because you don't have to start the characters from scratch. You don't have to start the world that these characters live in from scratch. You don't have to constantly keep coming up with new scenarios and so on with each book. You just take the characters and that world from the previous book and continue it in the next one. And as I said, if people already know these characters and they know this world and they like it, then you've won half the battle already. As long as your next story is good, people are going to enjoy it. And they're not going to complain and say, well, your last book was great, but this book, oh my God, what were you thinking when you wrote this one? Stick to a tried and tested true formula. I mean, look at people like Nora Roberts, for example. She writes to a template with all of her books. She's got the template down pat. Okay, so she writes the book with this template, and then with the next book, she just changes the names of people and changes the locations and tweaks a few bits here and there, and then she brings it out as a new book. So there are many advantages to having a brand, having a series, having a template. Obviously, don't make the books repetitive. I mean, obviously change it enough that people see that it's a new book. You don't want them to feel cheated. But at the same time, having a series and a template that you can work from on each book just makes it so much easier to keep producing the work. And I think if you could, obviously you couldn't do that with standalone books. And as far as I can see, standalone books are very difficult to sell, very difficult to market. It's very difficult to get reader loyalty with standalone books, not unless you're one of the really big names in the publishing world. And obviously, I'm not of the Stephen King and John Grisham level. So, I need to find a way to lure the reader in and keep them there. And as far as I can see, the only way to do that is to build a series. So if you're writing fiction, I strongly recommend that you establish a series and stay at it. I mean, you can write another series if you want later. I mean, I've got 3 series on the go at the moment, so you don't have to stay in the same series all the time. I've got a spin-off series of the main series, and then I've got another one, a completely different series that I'm starting. So you don't have to stay in the same series all the time. There's no rule that says that you can't have multiple series on the go at once. But I would say that you'd be struggling a lot more if you were focusing on standalone books. So that's what I would suggest you do. Start a series.